Okay, so today's video is going to be a fun one. We're going to get to play with the 3D printer. I haven't done that on the channel in a while. We'll get to look at some stuff in CAD, and we're working on these little LED benders that one of the viewers of the channel designed. So this is not my design. I'm not taking credit for it at all. This is Devious's work here. But yeah, he's a member of the Facebook group, the automotive electronics repair group that I'm the admin of, and he's also a viewer and subscriber of the channel. So yeah, he reached out to me with this design idea, and he did all of the work for it. All is what I've really done is 3D print it and give feedback. So I've done nothing. I'm just here for the ride on this one. But yeah, I think his design's a good design, and I think it's a great idea to help have a consistent LED. So you might go, oh, who needs an LED bender? Let me just grab some pliers and bend these. But it's pretty hard to get them pretty consistent. And with this, you just pop your LED in there, bend the legs, and then trim them, and that's it. There you go. So now it's ready to be trimmed, and that's it. So it's a nice simple design that works quick and easy. So this is the first revision of it. It only did the square LEDs like you're getting from Lighthouse LED, because those don't come bent. If you buy from Devious, I think that's how you say the name. I don't know. I don't know how to say the name of this company. I think it's Devious. Or who are the other guys that sell it? Maybe it's GM Cluster Repair. I don't remember. But yeah, those guys sell the cubes, and those have pre-bent legs, and they're also a little bit different shape. And Lighthouse LED just started selling the cube LEDs, but they don't come with bent legs. So yeah, this is kind of this is the first revision. Only fits the cubes in it. After I printed it, I was like, hey, you should also put support for the round LEDs, just because, who knows what people are using this for in the future. This one takes 3 hours to print, so then I was like, hey, you should make a little one that only does two. It'll only do one cube and one round at a time, so you can print it out faster. So this one takes 30 minutes to print. So yeah, that's my contribution was, hey, make the small one for us. I didn't do it. I just said make this. But yeah, so again, not taking credit for any of the work here. This is not my work. I was just along for the ride here. But oh, and on a side note, you probably can see that old yellow CRT back there. It's supposed to be like gray, but it's old, from 1993. Yeah, that's a Apple Color 14-inch monitor back there that's dead. I have a bunch of old Power PCs that I want to get working again, but first I have to get a working monitor to work on them, because I got one, it powers up, makes the sound, so I think it's a working computer. So yeah, in the future you'll get to see me work on some of these Power Macintosh Power PCs that are from the 90s. They're the ones I grew up with in the house, so I mean, they're the literal ones I grew up in from the house. I went and got those from my dad's house to work on them. But yeah, that's side note, not from the video. But let's get into this. Let's take a look in Fusion 360 at these models and see exactly what's going on in them, how they were designed. Put one together in Cura, print it out, and test it out. Now, this is not finished, or he's not done designing it. He's got a couple more tweaks he wants to make. There's actually a second piece that goes along with this one that he's working on right now. So if you look at the bottom of this guy right here, you'll see these two little notches there. You have the little notches there, and those are for, let me put a LED back in there. Let's put this one I already bent back into it. Alright, so now you got the LED, and this is the wrong one. This one's not fitting. I printed one of them at 100.3. So he made the dimensions exactly the size of the LEDs. So if you print it out at the same dimension, they don't fit right. But this one's at 103. All right, so once you get your LED in there and you bend the legs, now you have the little marks on it, so that way you trim them to the exact same size every time. Let me find my. There they are. Um, yeah. So then you just go put your trimmers right in there, and you get the trim the same size every time. Now you'll notice one's longer than the other. That is intentional. God, if it'll focus. So yeah, one's longer than the other, so that way you know the polarity. You just put them in, pay attention to your polarity when you're putting them in there, yeah, that's that. So we're working out the final details on the actual printing here. So this one's at 103% size, and it's still just a hair small. It's probably going to end up being 105 or 107% on the scale, but he may end up adjusting the size of the actual LEDs in here because when you have to change the percentage, you can do that in the slicer for 3D printing, but you can't do that on the CNC machine. So not that I'm aware of. I'll have to look at Fusion 360 actually while we're in the video. You may be able to scale the model up by percentages in CAM also. Because if you can, then yeah, who cares what the size is? We can just work with it, whatever you size it at, and just blow it up bigger as needed for CNCing. Because that's I do plan on CNCing one of these out for him since he did all this work designing it. Figured that's the least I could do is throw it on the CNC machine and send him one. But yeah, let's get into the video now and actually take a look at some stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at this real quick in Fusion 360. So I got it sitting up here in this corner, so that way my face isn't cutting it out. This is my second time recording this because my face was cutting out the whole thing. But yeah, let's take a look at this real quick. Just see how it's drawn out, take a look at it, and talk about how I would cut this in CAM too for CNCing for a second. But if you've never done any CAD work, it's really not too difficult once you figure out the basics of Fusion 360 or whatever CAD software you choose. There's FreeCAD and a bunch of other stuff out there. I choose Fusion 360 myself because there's just a ton of tutorials out there. It's pretty intuitive to use once you get started. You always start out with a sketch in CAD. So let's pull it back and go to the sketch. So there we go. We have this first little sketch here, which is just drawing out the shape of the LEDs and all the little pieces here. So then he starts extruding it out. So first comes up to there, then gonna extrude out the part where the legs are, and then this is in between the legs, and that's going to go all the way up to the top surface of it. So then you extrude out the rest of the body here, and you're going to cut a fillet hole here and another one here, or as I like to call them, fillets. Then joining right there, then he comes over and does a sketch of the two little squares here, which are for the polarity mark. Extrudes those, which is really a cut because it's a negative extrude going on there, and does the same thing on this side, draws out the next sketch of the exact same thing, does a cut, and then we do a hole right here, which is just a little curve to help with these guys getting stuck in there, because sometimes they were getting stuck. This skirt basically was getting caught on it because it goes a little bit deeper. So that is it for drawing it out in CAD. Some of the things to be aware of when you draw out stuff in CAD like this is it's hard to get a good feel for exactly what it's like in real life in CAD as once you print it. So you may draw this out and it seems like that distance is great there for it, but then once you print it on the 3D printer and test it out, you go, you know what, that leg's a little bit longer than I want. because it's just hard to take account for the curve distance and then the rest of it in your head and just visualize it. And when you're zoomed in like this, everything looks just absolutely huge. And then you can zoom like way out to the point of like that's probably close to real life size there on my monitor right now, and stuff looks kind of small. So I would say 3D printing, like being able to 3D print at home, makes a world of difference in people being able to design stuff at home and get a good finished product after just a couple of prints. Because then you can get it in your hand and go, okay, now that I've 3D printed this a couple of times, I'm happy with it. Now I could go pay to get it machined into something real. There are things you have to take into account for that are possible to do on 3D printers that are about impossible to do on a CNC machine, especially a CNC router like I have. Like these little notches. So let me zoom back in right here would be extremely difficult to do on my CNC machine because it's a CNC router and I don't have a fourth axis. So really what I would do is carry these all the way up to the surface here so that way the bit can travel through if I was going to route something like this. So this would go all the way up to the top here and just be little notches that go all the way up, all the way through. Much easier for a machine like mine to do, and it would just be easier for any machine because you generally are paying extra money when stuff has to go on a fourth axis and stuff like that. It's just more cam work, more time on the machine. Although I'm not an expert in machining, I just built my own CNC machine and that's it. Like I'm no expert on machining. You can tell because I have videos where I call them fillets instead of fillets. So. Um, there's that. So let's take a look at it in cam real quick and just talk about how I would do it. So when you're in Fusion 360, you go to manufacture. This is where you can create some tool paths. So I'm not actually going to create the full tool path and everything in here, but just talk about what I would do once you're in here. So I would, but my very first step would be once I put my stock on the CNC machine and clamp it down. My first path that I would do is I would have it cut the screw holes in it. Reason being is once it cuts the screw holes in it, I can put the screws into it, screw it down to the waste board, and now I don't have to worry about it breaking free and flying off the machine once it does that contour cut around the edges here. So then I could get into doing I'd probably do my contour cut next because I can use the bigger bit for doing that, and then do a third path with the 1/32 bit that I have, and then with that I'd be able to do the whole thing. All the top. I wouldn't be able to cut these. I would probably just ignore trying to cut them in the first place and just leave it alone. But you could also just modify the model here, carry these up so because I don't have a fourth axis, so I can't have it cut that. So that's really it for the CAD software. We'll put it in the slicer real quick. Slice it. You can totally slice it in Fusion 360, but I know a lot of guys are not going to be getting the Fusion 360 files in printing these. They're gonna get the STL files, put them into Cura or whatever slicer that they like to use and print it. So we'll do it that way in this video. Okay, so now we have it in the slicer software here. This is the latest one that he's done so far. I haven't printed this one yet, but we'll be doing it now because this one's the one with the curved relief in it. So first thing we need to do is scale this model because, like I said, we were still because since it's to exact dimensions, the LEDs are not going to fit. So let's try. So I've already tried 103%. Let's try 107% throughout. And see if that is loose enough. So there we go. I had it uniform scaling, so that way it did all of them the same. So now we scaled it to 107%. Ignore my crappy settings here. It's just... So yeah, let's go ahead and just click the slice button here and save to the removable device. So it should have saved over the current one on there. So now I can just put it on the 3D printer and print it, and we can watch it print. is fresh off the 3D printer. So this one is printed at 107%, as you saw when we did this in a slicer. So let's fit it in there. One thing with this 100.7 is definitely like the perfect size there, but it's made it just a little bit larger here. So you got to kind of bend the leg a little bit just to get it in there at first. And obviously I got the polarity backwards on here. Longer leg should be positive if I remember correct. But whatever. Longer leg goes to the longer leg side of it, so that way you still have a longer leg once you trim it. And there you go. Just bend it. And now you can take your trimmers, come down and trim it while it's in here. And there we go, we're done. So now it'll have a consistent, same size every single time. Now I just trimmed it to the far extreme of it. Probably need to trim it to the near extreme because these do look a hair long. But now every single time, all of your LEDs will be the same height that you bent it. So that way you'll get a nice consistent lighting in there, and they'll be easier to solder in because it'll sit nice and flat. You won't have them bent at an angle from your angles being off. So I think this is a great little tool. I think it is amazing that he spent the time to design this, and I'm not sure exactly how he's going to do it. I was talking to him on Facebook right now about it. I know he wants to do one of the models as a paid model and the other one as a free. Not sure how he wants to do it yet. If it's just going to be you get this one for free, and if you want the larger one, it's for pay, or he'll just do his logo on there for free, and without his logo, you'll have to pay for it. So I think that's going to be up to him. Screw holes were my suggestions. That way, if you wanted to mount it down, it does seem like it works best not mounted. It seems to be a little bit easier to work it when you can hold it and kind of wield it with two hands. Other thing just to be aware of, if you're not super familiar with 3D printing and you're going to have somebody else print this and then you get it, you may have to clean up the print a little bit with like an X-Acto knife. That's just the nature of this style of 3D printing. This is the FDM 3D printing where it just goes around and prints like that. Resin prints will come out a whole lot cleaner. You probably won't have to do any cleanup at all. But yeah, 107% size seems to be about the perfect size to print it. It is hanging just a hair on that, but it's just a tiny bit. And if you were to clean it up some more, I haven't cleaned it up yet, but if you were to clean this up with the razor blade, I think you'd be perfect and you'd be done. Another way to fix it would be to fillet the corners just a hair right there and right there, so that way it kind of guides the legs in, because not every one of them is going to have the exact same diameter. Different manufacturers may be a little bit different there. As you can tell, I don't have any of the 12 volt ones. These are just regular, 3.3 volt resistors I've been using for this. But yeah, this will fit the cube LEDs that not that Sun LED, that Lighthouse LED is making. I believe with this skirt that he put on here, that's what I'm going to call it. Maybe it's a rim. I don't know what you want to call it. You would be able to fit the Sun LED ones. The Sun LED ones are the ones that you're seeing people sell with the pre-bent legs on it. The Sun LED ones are about $1 a piece on the LED, while the Lighthouse LEDs I think are around 20 or 30 cents each. So a whole lot cheaper there. And then yeah, any of your dome LEDs should fit in this too. So I think it's a neat little project. I don't have a link for you guys yet on it. So what I'm going to say on that is join the Facebook group for the Automotive Electronics Repair Facebook group. I'll have a link down in the description. Just join that group to get the link to download these. I know not everybody has Facebook, but I don't have models to give out yet anyways. So if you don't have Facebook, You can reach out to me or somebody else via email and email them to you once I have his blessing. Because these aren't my model. I can't give away the models on these. I don't own the rights to them. It's not my design. So I can't just send you one right this minute because he hasn't decided on what he wants to do with them. And exactly how he wants to do distribution of the model. There is going to be a free model though, which just not sure which way is which, and not I don't know if he's decided on how he wants to be paid for it. If it's just going to be like email him PayPal and email back the files, or if he's going to put it on like Etsy or eBay or something like that. I don't know his plan yet, so don't be blowing up my comment section of, well, how do I get it? Because I just don't know yet. So that decision will be coming soon. I know. Hey, why didn't you just wait to make the video until you knew? Well, I gotta work this week, and so I won't have time to make it till next weekend, and I wanted to do it now. So, video's done now. So, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope to see you guys in the Facebook groups. That way, you can get the link to get these once he decides what he wants to do. I'm assuming he'll just post the link. It's he's in the group. But yeah, and if he wants to put it in the file section of the Facebook group, that is a perfectly acceptable way to doing it. We also have bins for a bunch of these vehicles in that file section too, so that way if y'all need, files, they're there. So yeah, I hope you guys like it, and I'll see you in the next